Hello everyone. I welcome you again to the lecture series of object-oriented programming using C++. We'll be studying today dynamic memory allocation, abstract classes, and array of objects. These are the topics which we'll be going to study today. Let's start with dynamic memory allocation. Dynamic memory allocation refers to managing system memory at runtime. Dynamic memory allocation is when an executing program requests that the operating system give it a block of main memory. The memory comes from above the static part of the data segment. Programs may request memory and may also return previously dynamic allocated memory. Dynamic memory allocation is to allocate memory of variable size, which is not possible with compiler allocated memory except variable length arrays. The most important use of dynamic memory allocation is the flexibility, as the programmers are free to allocate and deallocate memory whenever we need and when we don't need. To allocate memory dynamically in C, various library functions are there, namely malloc, calloc, realloc, and free. These functions are defined in the standard library.h header file. I hope you must have heard about these functions and you have also used these functions malloc, calloc in C. What is static and dynamic memory allocation? What is the difference between static and dynamic memory allocation? In static memory allocation, memory is allocated while writing the C program. Actually, user requested memory will be allocated at compile time. In dynamic memory allocation, memory is allocated while executing the program. That means at runtime. Memory size can't be modified while execution. So the advantages of dynamic memory allocation are: dynamic allocation is done at runtime. Data structures can grow and shrink according to the requirement. We can allocate additional storage whenever we need them. We can deallocate dynamic space whenever we are done with them. So the two types of memory allocation, that is static memory allocation, that is allocated by the compiler. Exact size and type of memory must be known at compile time. And the second is dynamic memory allocation, which is memory allocated during runtime. Next is abstract classes. Abstract class is a class which contains at least one pure virtual function in it. Abstract classes are used to provide an interface for its subclasses. Classes inheriting an abstract class must provide definition to the pure virtual function, otherwise they will also become abstract class. So what is the use of abstract class in C++? The purpose of an abstract class, often referred to as the ABC, is to provide an appropriate base class from which other classes can inherit. Abstract classes cannot be used to instantiate objects and serve only as an interface. Attempting to instantiate an object of an abstract class causes a compilation error. So how do you create an abstract class in C++? An abstract class contains at least one pure virtual function. So you declare a pure virtual function by using a pure specifier, which is equals to 0 in the declaration of a virtual member function in the class declaration. What is abstract class in object-oriented programming? An abstract class is a template definition of methods and variables of a class that contains one or more abstracted methods. Abstract classes are used in all object-oriented programming languages, including Java, C#, C++, and VB.NET. An abstract class allows us to create functionality that subclass can implement or override. An interface only allows you to define functionality, not implement it. The benefit of using an abstract class is that you can group several related classes together as siblings. An abstract class allows you to create functionality that subclasses can implement or override. An interface only allows you to define functionality. Whereas a class can extend only one abstract class, it can take advantage of multiple interfaces in Java as well. An abstract class must contain at least one pure virtual function, as I've already told you this before. In C++, a pure abstract class cannot have data members or non-abstract member functions. A pure abstract class cannot be instantiated and an object cannot be created from it. Since a pure abstract class does not have a implementation with it. Can abstract class have constructors? Yes, abstract classes can have constructor, though it cannot be instantiated. But the constructor defined in an abstract class can be used for instantiation of concrete class of this abstract class. Can an abstract class be static? Abstract classes contain abstract methods that should be implemented in derived classes. Static keyword in class definition means that all methods in the class are static as well. But static methods cannot be inherited or overridden. And that is why they can't be abstract. What makes a class abstract in C++? The classes inheriting the abstract class must provide a definition for the pure virtual function. Otherwise, the subclass would become an abstract class itself. So any class which is having at least one pure virtual function. What is a pure virtual function? A function that has no definition is known as a pure virtual function. So any class which is having a pure virtual function, it automatically becomes an abstract class. But why can't we instantiate an abstract class? Because an abstract class is an incomplete class. Incomplete in the sense it contains abstract methods without body and output. We cannot create an instance or object. The same way you say for an interface. You can instantiate an abstract class. You only need to provide a concrete subclass. What is abstract method in C++? A pure virtual function in C++ is a virtual function for which we don't have implementation. We only declare it. A pure virtual function is declared by signing 0 in declaration. Abstract methods are declaration only and it will not have implementation. It will not have a method body. In Java, a Java class containing an abstract class must be declared as abstract class. An abstract method can only set a visibility modifier, one of public or protected. Now, where these abstract classes are being used. As abstract classes cannot be instantiated and are designed to be subclass, they are used to provide some common functionality across a set of related classes, while also allowing default method implementation. An abstract class is a class that is declared abstract. It may or may not include abstract methods. When an abstract class is subclass, the subclass usually provides implementation for all of the abstract methods in its parent class. However, if it does not, then the subclass must also be declared abstract. So can we call an abstract method? An abstract method is a method without a body. So you can't just call an abstract method of an abstract class. You cannot instantiate an abstract class directly. Alternatively, You can remove the abstract keyword from the methods in your class. So then what is the point of abstract methods? Declaring a method as abstract forces each of the subclasses to implement that method. This can serve two purposes. It can be used to force each subclass to implement a consistent interface, or it can allow the parent class to be aware of and use a method that would otherwise exist only within each subclass. We can have an abstract class without abstract method, as both are independent concepts. Declaring a class abstract means that it cannot be instantiated on its own and can only be subclass. Declaring a method abstract means that method will be defined in the subclass. So the abstract classes are essential to providing an abstraction to the code to make it reusable and extendable. For example, a vehicle parent class with truck and motorbike inheriting from it is an abstraction that easily allows more vehicles to be added. However, even though all vehicles have wheels, not all vehicles have the same number of wheels. This is where a pure virtual function is needed. Consider an example of shape base class with subclasses triangle and rectangle that inherits the shape class. Now suppose we need a function to return the area of the shape. The function will be declared in the shape class. However, it cannot be defined there as the formula for the area is different for each shape. A non-specific shape does not have an area, but rectangles and triangles do. Therefore, the pure virtual function for calculating area will be implemented differently by each subclass. The classes inheriting the abstract class must provide a definition for the pure virtual function. Otherwise, the subclass would become an abstract class itself. The return type of the virtual function must be consistent throughout all of its implementing classes. We will be discussing in detail about what inheritance is, what pure virtual function is. We'll be taking some more examples on these two topics again in the future lecture of mine. Next is array of objects. The array of type class contains the object of the class as its individual element. Thus, an array of the class type is also known as an array of objects. An array of object is declared in the same way as an array of any built-in data type. An array of objects, all of whose elements are of the same class, can be declared just as an array of any built-in type. Each element of the array is an object of that class. Being able to declare array of objects in this way underscores the fact that a class is similar to a type. How do you pass an array of object in C++? C++ passing arrays to function. C++ does not allow to pass an entire array as an argument to a function. However, you can pass a pointer to an array by specifying the array's name without an index. What is an array in C++? In C++, an array is a variable that can store multiple values of the same type. You must have studied array in C also. That is similar in C++. Can we have an array of objects? Yes. Java, C++, both can have an array of objects, just like how it can have an array of primitive type. In Java specifically, an array is a dynamically created object that can have elements that are primitive data types or objects. Each variable or object in an array is called an element. Unlike stricter languages such as Java, you can store a mixture of data types in a single array. For example, you could have array with the following 4 elements: an integer, a window object, a string, and a button object. So the syntax for creating an array of object is class name, then the array name, and then the size you put in. let's have a look at the program. We have here included the IOStream file. Then we have created a class by the name myClass. Then I used integer variable x. There is no access specifier defined before integer x. So the by default access specifier, if not mentioned by the programmer, is private. So here integer x is the comes under private access specifier. Then I have used the public access specifier. I have declared a function void, which is the return type, and setx, which is the name of the function, and then integer I, which is the argument. I have set the value of x, which is the private data member of my class, equals to I. Then I have used another function, which is integer, which is the return type. Getx is the name. And in this function, in the function body, I have written return x. Then coming to the main part of the program. How do you create an object? I have already told you this before. You have to first write the class name, then you have to write the object name, and in this case, you have to declare the size as well. You can see the syntax: class name, then the array name, and then the size. So here is the class name, then it is the object name, and then is the size. So as you already know that for initializing array or for using array, you have to use loop. So here I have used for loop for I equals to 0, I less than 4, and then you increment the value of I plus plus. So here the name of the object is OBS, then the index I dot set x, because set x is the function which is setting the value of x equals to I. Then again, for printing the value, again we have to use the loop for I equals to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. Then C out, OBS, everything which is written in double quotes will be printed as it is. And then you call the function get x, which is returning the value of x, which is being assigned by the function set x. Then OBS I dot get x. Then you can see the output as well. Firstly, the value of I is equals to 0. So we get OBS. In the index, we get 0 dot get x, and the value is 0. Then I plus plus, then the value of I is incremented by 1. That's how it becomes OBS1 dot get x. This OBS1 dot get x, as it is written in double quotes, so you'll get as it is till semicolon. Then in place of OBS I dot get x, which is not written in double quotes, in place of this, you will get the value of this particular function, which is 1 in this case. Then again, you increment the value of I, which becomes 2. Then you get the value 2. Then again, you increment the value by 1, the value of I by 1, which becomes 3. And then you get the value as 3. So this is the output of this particular function, and you are using array of objects. So I hope it is clear to everyone. So we have studied today the dynamic memory allocation. I have already discussed about the dynamic memory allocation before. In my previous lecture, we have discussed about new and delete keywords. So you must refer to that video of mine for learning in detail about dynamic memory allocation. You need to know about new and delete keywords, and you must know how to use them, because these are very, very important topics. You can get questions on new and delete operator in NTERM University exams as well. Then we have studied about the array of objects, and we have also seen what abstract class is. Regarding abstract classes, I need to tell you one thing, that we will be discussing the abstract class again, or the points which we have discussed in abstract class, like pure virtual function and inheritance. I'll be taking these two topics again in the future lecture of mine. So thank you so much for listening to my lecture. I hope the lecture was clear to everyone. Have a good day. Thank you so much.